Hello and welcome to the Philosopher's Angle, your daily French philosophical take on the news headlines. This is an AI-generated podcast based directly on the writings of the philosophers discussed, but like all AI, it can make mistakes. In the news today, November 1st, 2024, a report by the Australian Taxation Office, ATO, has revealed that over 200 major companies paid no income tax in Australia in 2022-23. Among these were Qantas Airways, Virgin Australia, Netflix, and Canva. Many of these businesses deducted losses and used offsets to reduce their tax bills to zero. The report shows that some companies, such as Mineral Resources and News Australia Holdings, had significant incomes but paid no income tax due to various deductions and arrangements. Others, like Domino's Pizza Enterprises, attributed their reduced tax payments to changes in trading conditions and restructuring costs. Commentary inspired by the writings of Pierre Bourdieu, The Unseen Force of Corporate Power: How Symbolic Violence Shapes Tax Policy. A recent report by the Australian Taxation Office has brought to light a jarring reality. Over 200 major companies paid no income tax in Australia in 2022-23. This revelatory finding underscores the profound sway corporate power holds over tax policies and regulatory frameworks. Through the lens of Pierre Bourdieu's concept of symbolic violence, we can begin to grasp the insidious mechanisms that enable corporations like Qantas, Netflix, and Canva to exert control over the state and its institutions. According to Bourdieu, the state is not a neutral arbiter, but rather an actor subject to the forces of the field, the state nobility, elite schools in the field of power. This incisive observation highlights the notion that regulatory frameworks are not fixed or impartial entities, but rather dynamic systems that can be manipulated and influenced by powerful actors. In the context of taxation, this means that corporations with significant economic clout can shape tax policies to suit their interests, often at the expense of the general public. One of the primary mechanisms through which corporations exert influence over regulatory frameworks is what Bourdieu terms symbolic violence, masculine domination. This refers to the subtle yet pervasive ways in which dominant classes and institutions impose their will on others, often without resorting to overt coercion. In the realm of taxation, symbolic violence manifests as a complex web of deductions, offsets, and arrangements that enable corporations to minimize their tax liability. These mechanisms may appear innocuous or even beneficial at first glance, but they ultimately serve to reinforce the power dynamics that underpin our economic system. The logic of the market, with its emphasis on competition and profit, also plays a significant role in shaping regulatory frameworks, acts of resistance against the tyranny of the market. As corporations increasingly subject the state to the forces of competition and profit, we witness a gradual erosion of the boundaries between public and private interests. This blurring of lines enables corporations to insinuate themselves into the very fabric of our institutions, often with calamitous consequences for social welfare and economic equality. The report by the Australian Taxation Office serves as a sobering reminder of the need for regulatory frameworks that account for these power dynamics. By acknowledging the influence wielded by corporate power, we can begin to design systems that mitigate its most egregious excesses and promote fairness and accountability. This will require a fundamental transformation of our understanding of the relationship between corporations, the state, and society. In conclusion, the news story about Australian corporations paying no income tax serves as a clarion call for policymakers and citizens alike. It highlights the need to confront the unseen force of corporate power that shapes our regulatory frameworks and undermines social welfare. By engaging with Bourdieu's ideas on symbolic violence and the limits of regulatory power, we can begin to develop a more nuanced understanding of the complex mechanisms at play. Ultimately, this will enable us to craft policies that promote economic equality, fairness, and accountability, rather than serving as mere instruments for corporate interests. Thank you for listening to today's episode of The Philosopher's Angle. Be sure to come back tomorrow for another reflective take on the day's news.